Hi, my name is Tyler and I'm going to show you how to make and use a bump key. A bump key, when properly used, will open any lock that it fits into. Now, this technique is not new. The bad guys have been using it literally for years. And the locks that you buy today, yes, even the lock that you have on your front door, is vulnerable to this technique, largely because the general public doesn't know that they aren't safe. The way a normal key works is you stick it into the lock, and if you look at a key, you'll see that it has little ridges and little valleys. When you stick it into the lock, the little valleys line up with the pins inside the lock. Those pins have splits in them at various heights, and if the height of these little valleys matches the correct height on the pins, then the splits in the pins will line up where the two parts of the lock meet, allowing the cylinder to turn. Now, the way a bump key works is the valleys are cut all the way down to the lowest setting, and it still has little ridges. You stick it partway into the lock and give it a whack. When you hit it, these little ridges here will transmit their energy up to the pins, and just like a set of billiard balls, you hit the first one and the last one jumps. In the same way, you hit these pins, you hit the very bottom one, and the top one is the one that pops up. Now, if you turn the lock right at the right time, that little area between where the two parts of the lock meet, where the cylinder meets the outside of the lock, will be free, so the cylinder will freely turn, allowing you to open the lock. Now, the way you make this is you take just a normal key. This particular key went to an apartment that I no longer live in, so I'm not going to use the key for anything else. However, this key does fit into the lock I have on my front door. So we take this key. What I did is I took a little pen and marked below where each one of these little valleys is, each one of these little flat areas. I marked on this little ledge right here on the bottom where that was, so that when I was cutting, I would know where the pin was, so that I would know where to cut the little valley to. Once you've removed quite a bit of metal there, it kind of can get confusing if you don't have any reference. So mark on that little ledge on the bottom, or on the key, where each of these little valleys is, and then take with a file. I got this file for $2 at Home Depot. I actually got a set of 3 because I didn't know which one I would use, but this little triangular shaped file worked great. You take the file and file it down, file the metal all the way down to that little ledge. That's the lowest setting where keys will normally be set. That will get the key out of the way when you're trying to turn it. So you file this all the way down. This part right here takes about a half hour. Alright, so here's the finished key. It doesn't look wonderful, but it works. You'll notice that it's cut all the way down here. Where each one of those 5 pins was, it's all cut all the way down to this very bottom ledge. Between each one of those little valleys, you'll notice just a little tiny peak, just little tiny triangles. Important things about these little triangles here is the slope of these little triangles has to be such that when you stick it into the lock, the pins can easily slide over the front of the lock, the front of these little triangles, and when you pull it out of the lock, the pins will easily slide back out. If it's too steep on this side, when you try to stick it in, it won't go in. If it's too steep on the other side, it'll go in just fine, but when you try to pull it out, it won't come back out. It'll be real tough to try to explain to the locksmith what you were doing. So be real careful, and let's go try this out. Okay, the first time you do this, I recommend doing it with the door open. That way, in case the key does get stuck in the lock, you're able to still get into your house and you're able to take the lock apart. Take the key, put it all the way into the lock, pull it out one notch, one little click. Door's locked. Put a little bit of pressure on the key. You'll know, if you've ever picked locks before, you know how much I'm talking about. Just enough so that when the pins jump out of place, the cylinder will turn and it will catch. A little bit of pressure, and give it a tap. I'm going to use the back of the file that I used to cut the key. If it doesn't work, pull it out, try it again. There you go. And one more time. Pull it out one notch, a little bit of pressure. Alright, one more time just for fun. Key all the way in, pull it out, little bit of pressure. There you go, unlock. Show you that again. Take the key, all the way in, out one click, a little bit of pressure. If it doesn't work within the first few tries, you're probably doing something wrong. There you go.